everyone, I'm Dr. Shifali Garg and let's get started with another topic of general medicine. Now suppose you're going to your workplace and there's an accident on the road. A patient is lying there who cannot breathe and the pulse is also not there. Everyone is panicking around waiting for the ambulance to come. What will you do? So yes, being a healthcare worker, one necessity which everyone must know is basic CPR, that is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So what exactly is CPR, what has to be done and where is it required? We shall get to that in this video. So starting with the first things first to study a topic, what is CPR? So CPR is a life-saving technique used to restore blood circulation and breathing in individuals experiencing cardiac arrest. So the key points to note here is that CPR is done when a patient cannot breathe and the patient does not have a patent circulation. So airway and breathing both are compromised. The circulation is compromised. That is, the patient is in cardiac arrest. So we need to perform some sort of resuscitation, and that is the CPR, which is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So when the victim does not have a pulse and a normal breathing, that is the main indication for CPR. Also, you see the patient is not responding. The patient doesn't have any potential neck trauma. Only then can you perform CPR. You must not perform CPR when there is any fracture of the neck or any injury related to the neck and the spine, because that can worsen the injury. Now, after you know what is exactly the CPR called, you need to know how to give CPR, how to give it and when to give it. So once you have learned what is the definition of CPR, there are some do's and don'ts to give an adequate cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So the do's of a high quality CPR involve to allow the full chest of recoil. There should not be any shallow compressions and there should not be very fast compressions where the chest is not allowed to recoil, because if the chest will recoil, only then will it allow the air to come in and let the patient breathe. So you need to allow full chest recoil. There has to be maximum depth of compression of up to 5 cm. Going less will be a shallower compression and going more can hurt the organs inside the body and cause other damage which we do not want. Next, the rate of chest compression should be 100 to 120 per minute. So this is the compression rate, not the breathing one. There are two rates involved in CPR. One, how you compress, and second, how many breaths you give. The total amount of compression which you want is 100 to 120 per minute in an adult patient. And number of breaths which you have to give, that is 8 to 10 breaths per minute. Now breaths is the ventilation rate. Ventilation rate matters when the patient has a potential circulation but the breathing is not happening. So ventilation is different from circulation. But when both are not happening, we need to compress and we need to give breaths. So the ratio of that compression is to breath is 30:2. For every 30 compressions, you give 2 breaths. Now, how is this compression done? What is the procedure to get the compression correct? Now, suppose this is a lying patient. We will follow the protocol which you have to do later on, but currently I'm going to explain you the basics of performing a correct CPR. The first and foremost thing is the location of placement of your hands. So the first thing you see is the midline of the body, which corresponds to the sternum of the patient. So you have to stay in the lower half of the sternum, which usually corresponds between the two nipples of the patient. So in this location, you place one hand flat and the heel of the hand touches the chest, not the complete hand. The heel of the hand touches and the other hand comes over the first hand and interlocks it like this. This interlocking ensures complete grip and avoids any slippage during compressions, because we do not want even one compression wasted or given inadequately. So this is the correct method and the position at which the compression must be placed. Now, if suppose you're traveling with your friend and both of you are into healthcare and both of you have been taught the basic CPR, so you can do the CPR cycle in rotations and every 2 minutes you can shift the position. Maybe if you were giving compressions first, now you can give breaths and the person otherwise can do opposite. This way you get enough rest time and the compressions you provide will be of full benefit. Now, comparing the CPR which we are giving in adults to the CPR we are giving in children, it does vary slightly. Firstly, we do not use full hand because full hand is for excess pressure which the adult chest needs. But for children, only 2 thumbs or 2 fingers are used, and you give slight pressure using the 2 fingers. That is enough for children. The ratio stays same, which is 30:2. Also, the compression rate stays same, which is 100 to 120 per minute. Suppose you just giving compressions, they have to be 100 to 120 per minute. But what the catch is that ventilation rate for children varies. Ventilation rate is more. The children need more breaths per minute, which is 12 to 20 breaths per minute. So the ventilation rate is when the circulation is fine but breathing is not happening, you need to give these many breaths to revive the patient. Now imagine this scenario. You're at the site of accident, you want to save the patient, you want to do CPR. What is the protocol? This is the basic thing which we are taught in BLS courses, in the basic life support courses, but I am going to tell you how it is to be performed so that you know each detail about the CPR process. So the first and foremost thing you do when you reach an accident site or anywhere where the patient requires CPR is to check the patient's response. If the patient's name is known by anyone, you call out the patient loudly, call him out and see if he is responsive. If he is not, he is a potential candidate of cardiac arrest and CPR is mandatory. Second thing which you do is ensure scene safety. Now, what is scene safety? You ensure the patient is lying flat on a safe floor which does not have any glass or any stones around it. That there are no vehicles going by and the scene must be completely safe to avoid any further injury. Next, once you have ensured scene safety and the patient is not responding, you alert the medical emergency services of the respective area so that till the time you give CPR, they reach with the defibrillator and the process can go further. Now, when you have called the emergency services, you check the patient's pulse and the breathing if it is happening or not. If both of these are not happening, we are sure this is the case of cardiac arrest and CPR is needed. Now, if the patient is not lying flat already, you lay him in a supine position so that the compressions you give go directly at a 90-degree angle and they can be beneficial to revive the patient. After the patient has been laid, we give 30 compressions. You count 30 compressions, go 5 centimeter deep, let the chest recoil and then give the next compression. So while you're giving the compressions, your body must be straight so that there is no bending over the body and you don't have to stoop over the patient because that will give undue pressure and that can cause rib fracture. So you want your body to be inclined over the patient but kept straight, erect, with your arms completely straight so that they can adequately put pressure as much as it is required. Your hands must be straight, one heel kept with other hand interlocking the first hand. Once you have given the 30 chest compressions, you proceed to breathing. You tilt the chin of the patient upwards so that if there's any airway blockage, it is relieved. Then you pinch the nose of the patient and seal the mouth of the patient so that an adequate seal is maintained. And then you deliver 2 good breaths. Giving these 2, you wait for the lungs to expand, and if the chest recoils, it means the air has filled the lungs. You wait if the patient responds. If the patient does not, you repeat this cycle. So once you have given the 30 chest compressions and you have given 2 breaths, the patient has not revived, you repeat the CPR cycle of 30 chest compressions followed by 2 rescue breaths again. Now you keep doing these cycles until the help arrives, until an emergency service comes by because they will bring the AED. Now what is an AED? AED is an automated electronic defibrillator. What is the purpose of using AED? So AED is going to act like an external shock providing machine which will detect shockable waves of the heart and give a shock in order to revive the heart. So AED is attached directly to the patient by the emergency services. You do not have to do anything during that. They attach the cords which are meant to be placed at specific locations, and when the wave is shockable, they give a shock. Now, if the rhythm is checked, it is shockable, you deliver a shock or you don't. If you have delivered a shock, you give the shock 2 minutes and then you see if the patient responds or not. If not, you resume CPR cycles again. But if the patient does respond, you take him into the ambulance and reach the hospital as soon as possible. And if suppose you do not get a shockable wave, there is no shockable wave, you resume CPR immediately for 2 minutes until the AED again checks for a presence of shockable wave. Now, if the wave is shockable, the AED will deliver a shock and then again you see if the patient responds or not. If not, you continue the CPR. If yes, you take the patient to the hospital and reach there as soon as possible to provide further treatment. Now, how is CPR important for us dentists? So, what are the dental considerations of cardiopulmonary resuscitation? Now, suppose you're doing a patient and the patient goes into a cardiac arrest due to whatever reason, any underlying etiology, any underlying cause, be it respiratory, be it cardiac, anything about which you did not know, the patient did not inform you, or any irritant which might have escalated the situation. So, if the patient does go into cardiac arrest, you first of all check the patient responsiveness, pulse, and the breathing. If it's not present, you remove the patient from the chair, bring him down onto a flat floor, and lie him down. Once the patient is flat, you check again for the breathing and the pulse if it is present or not. If not, you alert the medical emergency services and you start CPR. You give 30 compressions and you give 2 breaths. You wait for any response from the patient. If not, you repeat. And until the emergency services arrive, you keep repeating the cycle. So knowing the basics of CPR is important because any emergency can happen in any dental office. So it's better to be educated and knowledgeable about this procedure than regret later. So to revise what we've just studied in CPR, CPR stands for cardiac pulmonary resuscitation, which is given when the patient has cardiac arrest, there is no breathing, there is no airway. The revised and updated sequence of performing CPR is CAB, circulation, airway, and breathing. So you gotta check all this in order. First and foremost is circulation to ensure the heart is working fine. Then you move on to the breathing and respiratory system to check if the patient is breathing. If both of them are fine and still the patient is not responsive, means there is some other issue which is letting these two systems not work properly. So after you have decided that the patient requires CPR, you start CPR, decide the location, lower half of sternum between the two nipples, place one heel of the hand, interlock the other fingers and push. 5 centimeter recoil is required, let the chest come up, then next compression is given. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. For the breaths, you must pinch the nose, lift the chin and seal the mouth so that the seal is adequate when you're giving a breath and no breath is wasted. If you are 2 rescuers, you can switch your positions every 2 minutes so that you do not get fatigued. What is the difference in ventilation rate and compression rate? Compressions are for circulation, ventilation is for breathing. Compressions are 100 to 120 per minute, whereas ventilation rate varies in adult and in children. In adult, it is around 8 to 10 breaths per minute, but in children, it's 12 to 20. So this is a small gist of CPR and I'm hopeful that this ways you will be able to learn this topic and if required, you'll get more guidance and be a BLS certified person because this is what every healthcare worker must know. Now, if you're someone who would like to study more from such mindful data in pictorial representation, you must check out our app which contains several mind maps which you can purchase provided by the free coins on the app itself. I know, how cool is this? And if you like this video, you must check out our channel, like and subscribe for further videos which I'm going to share on general medicine because I know general medicine is very dreadful. Now, before we wrap up our session for today, I would like to present to you a flashcard which also we have on our app. So, what is the revised correct sequence of CPR according to current guidelines? I just told you that answer. It is CAB. So, as you can see, the result also comes in the app in the form of pictorial representation, which makes it easier for you to learn it. Now, if you want to solve a question before we just go, because such topics are very important if you are a NEET aspirant. So what is the compression to ventilation ratio in adult CPR? Terms like adult CPR means something specific is being asked. Although the ratio stays same for both over here, but you must be vigilant in whenever you're reading the question. So what is the compression to ventilation rate? It is 30:2. So this is how our app works, and you can solve unlimited questions in flashcards and revise your topics. I hope this video was useful, and if it was, let me know in the comment section which topic you dread the most so that I can cover that next, and do follow us for more such videos. Thank you.